Facebook stream. And actually, let's go live right now on TikTok. So we're live on TikTok, we're live on YouTube, and we are about to be live on Facebook. And oh, one sec, I got some background music going on. Live on YouTube, live on TikTok, and about to be live on Facebook. How's everyone doing? YouTube. So I've had quite an eventful past few days. I mean, I won't say very eventful, but just being in London and whatnot, it's just more things going on there than I like in my everyday focus. Not that I'm not doing loads of things, but just that London has things going on around you that just enter into your frame, like as you are just going about life. And so dealing with that stuff. But obviously back streaming, we are streaming every day. This is State of Deception live. I hope people can see us streaming live. Yep. So we're going to be live now on Facebook. And oh, the TikTok should have started. Hello TikTok. Okay, I'm actually hoping that eventually there's a way that I can just press one button and it all just goes live at the same time. I haven't quite figured that out yet. So the TikTok live stream is on. I hope it's not having any issues. Probably going to share in a sec. So we're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. Do we have to restart the TikTok? Let's restart the TikTok. Oh, we got a live join out. There we go. It should be working on TikTok. What's up, Bewitching Cat? I wonder if there's something up with the TikTok stream. So the thing I'm trying new on TikTok is I've put it on 18 plus now as a stream. So I don't know if that makes the viewers go up or down, but I was having issues with the stream not getting shared. So that's what we're trying to address right now. We're going to have to restart this because this is weird. Okay, let's start again and see what happens. Okay, we've restarted the TikTok stream. Notify music live. My hair is getting very long. Okay. Absolutely bizarre. Live is 0, not getting shared. AJ, okay, there we go. AJ Vixter, what's up? What's up, Valeria Blake? Thanks for joining the live. What's up, T? What's up, Winnie Doherty? What's up, Tiggs? So, guys, I was just explaining when I don't think anyone was in the live. I was just explaining that I put the live on 18 plus now. So the rules of the live are now, you can't even participate in the conversation at all unless you're 18 plus. What's up, Nicole? What's up, Alfie? What's up, Life of Chloe? What's up, Big Lips? So yeah, you can't participate in the live unless you're 18 plus. I might have to start checking ages. I didn't want to do this stuff, but I'm starting to realize this is like why certain people's lives get shared more and not. At first I was thinking, poor me, they're not sharing my live. But now I'm realizing there's a way that you have to do things to make sure that they share your content. What's up, Ty Man Sam? Guys, if you could tap the screen as well and share the live, that will help us. Because there's still logistical things that go on with these live streams. What's up, JJ? What's up, RMB? What's up, CoStar? Thank you for liking the live, Winnie. What's up, Crunchy? Crunchy, we're 18 plus now. I'm just letting you know. What's up, Janie? What's up, Emma? Because I was just tired of getting my live stream showed by the algorithm. What's up, Luna? What's up, Ash? If you guys can hear me, just drop a comment because then it will start showing on the YouTube and Facebook streams for everyone, so then they'll realize, oh, there are people in the live stream. Thanks for the heart, me. Appreciate it. What's up, Justina? Yeah, I was just letting everyone know we're 18 plus now, which is great. I think that's going to help us. What's up, London? What's up, Joe Brooks? What's up, Anakin Skywalker? What is up, Zach? Guys, tap the screen to like the live. Let's get the likes up. Dasbro says, isn't there footage of her walking over to the babies and then moments later incidents happening? No. You literally just made that up completely. Oh, I see why the stuff's not coming up on the screen. I didn't start Tickfinity. I'm moving like a rookie these days. Big up, Greg. What's up? I wonder if the people... I remember I had like a whole team of people that used to come on that my live would get shared with, and then they even became subscribers, and then they just disappeared when I got banned. Dasbro says there's CCTV and you can clearly see her go over to the cribs. Why am I thinking that of a nurse? You're just making it up, bro. What's up, Liv? How you doing? Yeah. So the live stream's coming up better now. Perfect. They put CCTV in the ward because it kept happening. Okay. Dasbro, please look up the case first. Her people says, let me on, boy. Nice one, Liv. Appreciate it. Cash Powell, what's up? What's up, Jono? No, Jono, she is not an M. I mean, I guess you would consider her that simply because she got convicted. Jamie says, I did get a notification on my phone, just so you know, off YouTube. Thank you so much, Jamie. I appreciate that. Regulating for the YouTube viewers so we know that things are working well. Always good to have proactive people. Retro says, why do you want to defend her? So I don't want to defend her. I feel compelled to defend her because I can quite clearly see that she's not guilty, and because I've been through a similar circumstance to her and nobody helps. People say nice things, but you are essentially alone, even if you have a lawyer, because a lawyer doesn't really truly know what you're going through because they're just doing the job. So Lucy is, I'm going through mentally probably something very similar to her, which is being in a prison a mental prison created by the NHS. So Jono says she's where she deserves. Okay, that's all right, Jono. Dublin says, what proof do you have? There's a lot of proof coming out. We can get into it. You can look into it. We've got 140 likes, guys. Keep tapping the screen to like the lives. For the YouTube and TikTok, for the YouTube and Facebook viewers, we are debating the Lucy Letby case yet again. Nat says, isn't she the woman that emmed all them babies? She's the woman that didn't do that and was wrongfully convicted, as Swad Brion is rightfully stating that she was a scapegoat. And we are going to let guests on. What's up, Katsuki? What's up, Kaz the Goddess? Stick around. Tap the screen, guys. We want to get us up to 1,000 likes. Denver says, no doubt. I'm assuming he means no doubt she's a scapegoat. Nat Cat says, okay, but where's the evidence of this? Well, Nat Cat, could you tell us what evidence you were convinced by? Jamie says, no point arguing with Lucy Letby guilty. There's no evidence. Until they present the evidence, they should be ignored. That's a good point. I think I am going to just start asking people first, what evidence convinced you that she's guilty? Because if they don't even know why she's guilty, then they're just saying because I read it online or something like that. Ruby says, this have evidence, or you just playing? Dasbo said, didn't she unalive 7 babies and try to unalive 6 others? Well, Dasbo, the fact that you're asking didn't she and didn't she not makes me think that you probably haven't looked into the case much. Is that fair? Ruby says doctor saw her unalive. No, that's not true. We got 103 live viewers, 106. So maybe it did work putting on 18 plus, guys. I think maybe it did work. Please keep tapping the screen. We want to get to 1,000 before we start letting guests on. 121. Simon said, I think the same. Appreciate Gobblegab. Thanks for the repost. Dinvadbat. Sim says, Lucy is innocent. I've always thought she's been scapegoated. You are correct. Is this another one of those societal IQ tests now? Actually, people are telling me I should stop patronizing listeners. So I'm trying to work on that. Because I have a bit of a deadpan sense of humor. So sometimes I can come off as patronizing. But it's not because I have a bad heart. It's because I like playing around with language. Dasbo and wit. Challenging my own wit. Dasbo says they died. Yes, unfortunately death is a part of life. That doesn't necessarily mean somebody was murdered. Sim says Dewey Evans should never be believed. Yeah, I agree. Chloe says, my mum works for the NHS. This is bull. Oh, Chloe. You know, your mum working for the NHS does not negate anything that's being said. Yo, Fave says, y'all still going on about this? It was last year and she did. Yes, we are still going on about it. You're still in the live. Feel free to go on to other lives and speak about other topics. Right now we're speaking about the Lucy Letby topic. Chieftain of Kings, let's talk. We can talk. Chieftain, are you disagreeing with the prompt? Dasbro says, when air is injected into the veins, when insulin is put in feeds to disrupt the digestion. To disrupt digestion. Insulin put in feeds. Guys, this is crazy. Insulin put in feeds to disrupt digestion. Dasbo. Dasbo, come on, you sound silly, man. You sounding silly. That's silly talk. Arthur said it's a suspicious case, but she became friends with the mother who killed her own daughter. I mean, where is your evidence that she became friends? Is that because you read a tabloid newspaper that said that? Sparkly Villan said, I watched the documentary and she was clearly set up by the two doctors covering for themselves. I would agree. Dasbro says, yes, unnecessary insulin feeds as well. Insulin feeds, okay. Let's just ignore Dasbro, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Sim says, the recent Channel 4 was pitiful with Dewey Evans and Liz Hull. Oh yes, that old chestnut clip. Why does the NHS have to gain by framing Lucy? So, what it is many people don't understand the mindset of psychopaths, the narcissistic mindset. They don't understand the arrogance of hospital consultants. So they don't understand that some of these people will throw another person's whole career under the bus just to save face. It's an extremely toxic environment filled with criminal activity that gets brushed under the rug. And lay people, we typically are not aware of what's going on. You have to be either a victim of them, or you have to know many people well connected with these people to recognize that this is the culture within the NHS, and this is the culture in which Lucy was framed and convicted. And she's not the only one that's been framed and convicted. We are plenty, I can tell you that. Blonde hair, blue eyes are, if she looked like your mother, you wouldn't be live right now. Well, that's an assumption that you're making. Because if I'm not mistaken, people who are of my persuasion have the highest in-group preference, which means we have the highest likelihood to show bias towards people that are like us. So the fact that I'm defending someone who's not like me actually implies that I do not have an in-group bias, even though people like me have been shown in tests to have the greatest in-group bias. So your assumption that simply because of my persuasion and her persuasion, I am likely to be biased against her is not founded in any sense. Like, there's no evidence to suggest that BLK men are biased towards YT women. Like, there's evidence to suggest that BLK men are biased towards BLK people, but not towards YT females. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone could show me otherwise. Mickey says you're the one making assumptions about her and the culture in the NHS. I'm not making assumptions. Everything I'm saying is well established. You just don't know about it. So stop being ignorant, you know? Because it's ignorant when you assume that I don't know something simply because you don't know something. So why don't you just have an open mind and think, maybe I don't know, and ask questions instead of assuming what I know and I don't know. Why are you siding with a K more of the questions? Mickey, if you want to come up and speak, you're welcome to come up and speak. We can challenge the things that you're saying. Let's see if we can give you a request. Mickey, would you like to come up and speak? Wendy Blue says, I lost a cousin at age 33 from sepsis, left untreated by the hospital, tried to cover up by hiding things. Oh no, Wendy, according to Mickey, NHS doesn't have a culture of cover-up. Apparently. We're all just making it up, aren't we? We're all just making it up. Yeah, I just woke up today and decided to make up the fact that there's cover-up culture in the NHS, even though everybody knows that there is. It's the elephant in the room. Mr. C says, do you do any other lives defending black people who have been wrongfully accused of any crimes? This is not a true crime platform. This is a platform where I speak about my daughter who was killed on a neonatal ward and it was covered up. And so I talk about corruption in the NHS. I talk about corruption in health and social care in general. And that's why I'm talking about the Letby case. I don't cover true crime cases. I'm covering the Letby case because it overlaps with the things that I already cover, and because the what's his name, the pathologist that is helping to cover up my daughter's death is the same pathologist that's covering up in the Letby case. His name is Andreas Marnarides. So it's quite obvious to everybody what my motivation is. But if you want to be obtuse, then like I said, I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to not tear these idiots to shreds every time they appear. Because, they apparently when you react to every comment, that's a rookie live streamer thing to do. Okay. Wendy Blue says, nah. Sarah was sad, says, do you believe she's innocent? I do. I'm not saying she's innocent. I'm saying she's not guilty of M, which is obviously distinct. Nova Lights, I'm sorry for your loss, brother. As a parent, I can't imagine what you're going through. Yes, it's very difficult. Wendy says, I think you're being unbiased with all considered. Dude. Yes, I am very unbiased. In fact, I show negative bias. I actually show an extremely open mind to the point where I actually look at people who have harmed me and people that have characteristics of the people that perpetrated harm against my family, and I actually try to go out of my way to try to understand them. It's quite obvious that I do that because you can see by how I reason, and if you look at my videos and the way that I think about these people, if I was just being unintelligent and biased, I would just say wild random things about them. But I say very clinical things that show that I've been thinking deeply. So I put myself in their shoes a lot. So I would actually argue that not only do I not have a positive bias, I would say that I have a negative bias to a fault. I'm so unbiased that I'm actually empathizing with people that harm me. Tamba says, I reckon the element of doubt is strong. Definitely this case needs to be investigated thoroughly. Yes. Well, the thing is, that's weird, is it is being investigated thoroughly. But then it just seems that there's this kind of stalemate where everybody that's looked into it knows that she's not guilty. But then we just somehow are like, well, she's just in there now. And yes, granted, it's a valid criticism that there's probably many other people who have been wrongfully convicted and who are in prison. That's a valid criticism, that they don't get the coverage. And I do think she gets more coverage because she looks more similar to the majority of the population. But that doesn't mean that she's guilty. And if a case is getting a lot of coverage, then obviously people are more likely to speak about it. Joe Ricker says, too many coincidences for her to be innocent. What coincidences to you suggest that she performed an intravenous, or I should say an intra-arterial air embolism? What coincidences suggest that happened to you? And what coincidences suggest that she injected a bag with insulin and allowed it and went away, and then another nurse drip fed it into, allowed it to transfuse into a baby? What coincidences suggest that to you? Wendy Blue says, not saying she did or didn't do it either, just seems suspicious. It is suspicious. It's medical negligence. Medical negligence is a very suspicious thing that involves layers and layers of deception. I feel like medical negligence lawyers, like if you're a good medical negligence lawyer, oh, what's happened? It says, okay, I think we're still alive and everything. I think if you're a good medical negligence lawyer, you are probably super smart, because like you have to have so many, like you have to be like a polymath. You have to understand stuff about medicine, then you have to understand stuff about law, then you have to have an analytical mind. So, like, a medical professional doesn't really have to have an analytical mind. A lawyer, it helps have an analytical mind, but typically their verbal reasoning and just following certain processes can still make them a good lawyer. So to have an analytical mind, understand medicine, and understand law, you have to be super smart. So, yeah. Shout out to the medical negligence lawyers. I would love to get into medical negligence law. I've suggested a lot of times that is something I do want to get into in the future. That name. Looking back, I think she's been set up. Hopefully she can prove and bring the people to account. Yes. Nat G says, if she did nothing, then she would have fought tooth and nail for her innocence. Well, maybe you just don't understand much about the legal system and how hard it is to fight against false allegations. Penny Hardy says, medical professionals are siloed into specialties and none question the others. Yes. If you're a specialist, professional, expert, you can just say anything. And the lemmings will eat it all up. Cool Lufter says, it would be interesting to ask a medical negligence lawyer if they would use the NHS for their family. Oh, yeah. That's an interesting question indeed. Keith said, those people aren't stupid. She done it all right. Noko said she got broken by the system. That's reportedly, allegedly. The system will break you. It hasn't broken me. But the thing is with me is, if the system breaks me, then that's just going to be bad for all of you guys, because then I break outwards. I don't break inwards. That's the problem. T Blue says the NHS scrubbed mine and my sister's birth off their records for some unknown reason. Unfortunately, this arcane reason was known to them and not known to you. James says, no way this is true. Why? Penny says they do. They are back to the hilt with legal advice to protect themselves. They are a mafia. They are a mafia. Nat G says, no, I do understand, but I would fight hard if I did nothing wrong to them babies. Yeah. She is fighting hard. The way that you fight hard is by getting a lawyer, and your lawyer represents you. That's the fight. You don't go into court and start. Do you think if you go into court and say, please, I'm innocent? Do you know that is one of the classic bait tactics that they'll use? Is, well, it's not even really a bait. It's more, that's a classic pitfall. That's a better word. That's a classic pitfall, is to go to court and show overt emotion, because then what they will say is, aha, this person is incapable of controlling their behavior. They are not dissimilar to a ravenous beast who, upon experiencing bloodlust, cannot contain themselves from striking. Nat G said I'd scream it to high heavens if I never hurt a baby. I didn't do it. And who is supposed to capture that footage? Do you have a personal cameraman? Where are you gonna upload it, and who's gonna watch it? So Lucy, what's Lucy supposed to do? A video? You know that there are also restrictions put onto people who are on trial. They will usually be told they're not allowed to speak publicly about certain elements of the case, especially in a case like this where there's vulnerable victims. Dozens and dozens of them. Sinom says Lucy has more plot armor than the vast majority. I think she's guilty after seeing evidence. What evidence did you see? Wendy Blue says, I remember I had 4 seizures in one night in hospital, refused my epilepsy meds and accused me of substance abuse. Oh dear. Penny Hardy says, including spina bifida occulta, then oops, it reappeared in 2022. Phil Mitchell says, guilty as can be. Oh yes, the sages are here to adorn us with their the fruits of their investigative prowess. Guilty as can be. Colonel Sanders says, where you get your law degree from. Where I get my law degree from, guys. I don't have a law degree. Nat G says, I'm seeing Harold Shipman here. I'll never forget that. Serial K's come in all forms. Well, you're presupposing that she's a serial K in a live where we're trying to examine the evidence that you are using to suggest that she's a serial K. So coming in and repeatedly saying she's guilty is not adding anything to the conversation, right? You have to explain why she's guilty. That's the purpose of the live.
Where you get your law degree from, eh?
I don't have a law degree. That's the problem, isn't it?
Mate, she's so guilty.
Really? Why?
Look, mate, they're not going to send someone down just for the sake of it. Like, as much as we've all got agendas, we all think there's like some hidden agenda. She got sent down for valid reasons.
What are the reasons?
Well, like, I can't talk about everything in here because obviously.
Can you talk about anything?
No, I can, but I'm saying
sure.
the wording I can't use on TikTok.
Okay, we'll use euphemisms and let's hear what you've got, buddy.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is they had medical professionals like at the highest of the field analyse everything.
Tell us all about it. We're here to listen.
What I'm saying in the court case, they had what's called reviewers, obviously, who are experts in like respiratory illnesses, all these things. Saying,
do you know their names?
No, I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but okay. I remember the case. I remember following the case enough that. You know,
you followed the case.
Enough.
Okay, what evidence? What evidence convinced you?
I'm saying the fact that it happened. It can't be coincidence. Maybe once or twice you may have an argument.
We've accepted what you've said about you think that there's sufficient evidence and that it can't be coincidence. I'm asking you what.
Well, I'm saying when she joined, before she joined, the amount of those incidents happening were far and few between. But then coincidentally, they went up exponentially when she joined that department. Do you think that's just a case of just bad timing? Do you think?
Is that evidence?
Evidence but I'm saying in a notebook that she had, a diary where she wrote all those things about herself.
So are you saying that you think that's sufficient to convict someone of murder?
I'm saying, well, unless there was an alibi that could kind of resolve her from those obviously accusations. I guess probably not, but because that would indicate.
You mean an alibi like she works there?
No, I'm saying alibi of such as like she was the practicing nurse when those infants passed away, like when those babies had passed away and stuff like that.
She was.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If there was like evidence that she wasn't, in a sense of like, come on, man, you know what you're trying to do.
She got convicted of unaliving a baby when she wasn't even there.
In what respect? What you're saying that you saying that what she did after?
Well, you're saying that because there was spikes in death when she was present, that suggests that she committed M's, but she works there, so she's present because she works there. So the evidence there would be that she's present more than others when deaths occur, right? And that's what the jury was presented with, that suggestion that she was present more than everyone else. But then it actually turns out that she wasn't really. It's just that that's how they presented the evidence.
Well, I'm saying, what do you think? Because obviously, what I think, obviously, you're going to conflate it. But I'm saying, what do you think?
I think that she's been framed by the NHS because that's what they do all the time.
In what respect do you mean?
When they see things go wrong on their wards, to avoid accountability, they throw people under the bus. Sometimes it's benign and people just end up experiencing a bullying culture, and sometimes it's catastrophic and people end up going to prison. It happens all the time.
I just can't see why because let's be honest, the NHS have taken responsibility for misdiagnosing patients, missing things, even disregarding things.
What makes you think they take responsibility?
I'm just saying, if there was an issue in their care, every other trust pretty much does it. So I don't know why they changed their two.
What makes you think every other trust takes accountability when things go wrong? What makes you think that they do?
They pay out quite a lot.
They pay out settlements. They pay out pre-action settlements in 80% of cases. So they pay out so that they don't get sued. They don't pay out because they want to take accountability. In fact, the pre-action settlement usually involves a clause where you can't sue them and they don't have to admit wrongdoing. So they actually doing, but by paying out, they're actually doing the opposite of taking accountability.
Okay, but what we're saying is, I think to take away obviously the cases that you're saying she might not be guilty of, I'm saying the notes in her book are quite damning. In her diary were quite damning, where she was saying it's my fault, it's all my fault, all this stuff. Like it's a bit of a.
Did you see the note where she said that she's innocent and she's being framed?
I didn't see that one, mate.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, I'll never admit something that I don't know.
But you said that you followed the case and that you were quite confident that.
Yeah, but I'm saying in a general consensus. I'm not saying in an in-depth like you are. You're saying consensus.
So let me ask you: do you think that there's some doubt as to whether she's possibly guilty?
I think the fact that she's applied for a retrial and they've denied it kind of says that the evidence against her is quite mitigated. There's not anything that could conflate this case or kind of change the decision as such. And I do think like there's got to be something that more than meets the eye with this.
There is more than meets the eye. It's a case of babies dying as a result of medical negligence, their deaths being covered up by a ward, the cover-up being somewhat partially exposed because the authorities decided they wanted to investigate the trust. The staff having grievances between one another, so the consultants having grievances with Letby being found in favour in the grievances and the consultants being forced to apologise to her. Then upon the consultants' realisation that they were going to be further investigated by external bodies, they then took a case file of evidence to the police against Lucy Letby and framed her. That's literally what's happened. You can follow it step by step and see that that's what's happened.
Well, obviously, I'll have to look into it more, but
okay.
I just can't see why they would convict someone like just to not show themselves up. Like that
a jury is just a sample selection of individuals in our society. Do you think that the average person in our society understands much about how the medical system works?
We'd be deconstructing our courts and our legal system if we were doing that. Obviously,
we should be doing that.
know, what would you say in an ideal world would be the case?
I think that we need medically trained judges potentially, and I think that we need to look at the level of strength we give to medical expert testimony. Yeah, I don't really like the concept of it. I know it's probably necessary, but it just allows them to frame and cover things up constantly. If your testimony is just viewed as better than everyone else's, then you just win all the time. Maybe not every time, but you're going to win 99% of the time because people are just going to say, oh, you're a doctor, I believe you. And then that's what... So human behavior is usually about reinforcement. If you reinforce certain behaviors, those are the behaviors people repeat. It's like when you go and goon on the hub, it's because you are able to do it and there's no consequence and you like it makes you feel good. If every time you tried to goon on the hub, someone pulled out a baseball bat and whacked you over the head while your trousers were down, then you wouldn't want to goon on the hub, would you? So the reverse is also true, or the inverse is also true, is that if you're a doctor and every single time you do something wrong and you are able to lie and you go to court and your heart's there beating and then you realize, oh, I got away with it. Then the next time something happens, you're just going to do the same thing. Oh shit, I got away with it again. And then they realize, fuck, I am like a god. I can kill people and no one can do anything about it because I'm a doctor. And then they even, by going through the process, they even become better at covering up. And then they learn, and then because of the hierarchical structure of how the medical system is run, you get people that are more experienced, who have people working under them that will learn the ways of the more shrewd and psychopathic individuals above them. So they will watch and see, okay, this is how you cover up, this is how you avoid accountability, this is how you throw someone under the bus. And after 10, 20, 30 years of being in this industry, they become extremely adept at cover-ups. And then they actually start to believe that they are not culpable because they have not been held accountable for decades. And so they just like, the concept of accountability is just completely foreign to them.
I do think your concept about medical judges is actually a really interesting idea, and I do think it's something in practice could work potentially, because obviously from a court perspective, I guess to have the best expert analysis in terms of like expert judgment, because that judge wasn't trained in that field. Obviously, they're going to be emotionally driven as opposed to factually and medically.
Yeah, or even some new kind of like, I don't know if juris doctor is a word, juris doctor, that would be a specialist, a medical specialist. So maybe not a judge, but just some kind of between a judge and a clerk kind of person who comes in to interpret medical data, because that's what the medical experts are supposed to do. You can get a medical expert that's meant to be like an impartial one for both. That technically is a thing already. I'm not saying I'm like no in-depth stuff about the legal system. Someone could probably tell you way more about this than me, but generally speaking, I just think that we need to rely less on the testimony of random doctors and nurses, because they just lie all the time, and they're incentivized to lie.
Yeah. But anyway, mate, I'll leave it to it because I've got a couple of things I like to do. I just wanted to obviously get your thoughts on it a little bit more. Right. Taylor Fitzy keeps asking to come in if you want to let her in, or that. But yeah.
All right, mate.
All right, appreciate it.
Take care, mate. Decentralized, yes, you can join up, but let's see what Taylor Fitzy's got to say first. Guys, remember to tap the screen to like the live. Just before you speak, Taylor, let me just shut the window because I'm getting a bit nippy. That's how you know it's bad, when the window wasn't even open. It's getting to that time in the UK. It's very chilly today. What's up, Taylor?
So, I've been a qualified nurse now for 5 years. I qualified during the pandemic. I don't know if Lucy Letby is innocent or guilty. That's not for me to say. But from her perspective, the amount of responsibility that a nurse holds on her shift or his shift is absolutely incredible, to the point where doctors prescribe something wrong. If we're not 100% on it and pick up on that error, then if something happens to that patient, it's not down to the doctor, it's down to the nurses. And I think, obviously, like you said, there's been so many doctors putting their sort of 2 pence in, but it's not a job that you can sort of not care about people. And I think that's all she was trying to, well, it seems like all she was trying to do was care for him. But I massively think she's been made an example of, basically.
That point you made about nurses being mainly involved, it depends. If it's like a medical procedure, then the doctor will be involved, and if it's something that needs the oversight of the doctor will be involved, and the doctor tells the nurses what to do anyway. So in a sense, the nurses are actually even less culpable in a way, because they're just following what the doctors tell them to do. And then you said that you think that she's been made an example of, but you said you don't know if she's... Why do you think she's been made an example of? That kind of suggests maybe that she's not guilty, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can see it from that perspective. I don't know, it's this feeling that you go into nursing because you care for people.
It also has a great pension, 30% pension contributions. That's pretty much higher than anyone else in the whole society.
But you can see why a lot of nurses, with this level of responsibility for such little pay, there's no surprise why they're leaving.
I don't think that they take that much more responsibility than many other technical roles. It's just that the outcomes of their decisions are more drastic. Is that what you were saying?
it's not like for like in order to like understand who's more going to be at blame. But like I said, if a doctor writes something down, a prescription, anything, the doctor is so protected by the GMC that
Yes.
it would be the nurse's fault.
Yeah, the doctors do get protected by the organizational structure because they have more power. The NHS
Mm.
has a power hierarchy. So
Mm.
obviously, when you're looking at who's going to be held accountable, it will usually be the more powerful people bear the more accountability. You know, with great power comes great responsibility, as they say. So
Yeah.
there lies the incentive to throw someone under the bus. If you are going to be held accountable, or if you are responsible for something, and you have to throw someone else under the bus, that will necessarily involve some kind of allegation of you doing something deliberate. Because if you say, well, they did this wrong after I told them to do it, it's still kind of your fault. So you can see why they would actually frame someone as opposed to just saying, oh, they made a mistake. Because if they made a mistake, it could still be your fault. Do you get it? They have to say something that makes it totally not their fault, and that's why they say, oh, you stole medicine, oh, you did this on purpose, oh, you are being aggressive, oh, like they'll do something that makes the burden shift onto you, the burden of like guilt, I guess, shift onto you.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah.
why and because some people don't understand, why would they falsely accuse her of deliberately harming children? But it's like, what else could they have accused her of doing? If they say, oh, you know, she did it, and to be honest, they actually didn't explicitly say that. They just sent all the case files linking her, that seemed to link her to poor baby outcomes, to the police. But again, by going to the police, you're implying that there could be criminal culpability, which usually involves some level of intent. So they know what they're doing. They know that they're reporting you to somebody who's going to assume intent in your behavior.
Yeah. But didn't she go to her ward manager like loads of times and said this is happening? Because it was only escalated higher than the ward manager when it got more
I
serious.
don't know if she went and said that, oh, things are going wrong with the babies. I think that they did. Yeah, I think they did try to like look into like why some of the outcomes were poor for some of the babies she cared for. But
Mm.
another really damning piece of evidence that people only bring up very rarely is that the babies got given natural causes outcomes on
Mm.
their postmortems. So no matter what, the hospital still tried to cover it up. Because
Yeah, exactly.
exactly, so it's like, if the hospital are covering up babies' deaths, why would they not frame, like, we know that for a fact that they tried to cover up the babies' deaths, because it's mathematically impossible for all of these to actually have just been malicious harm, and for every single time the reports that they sent to the coroner implied to the coroner, oh, this is a natural causes death. In order for it to be a natural cause of death, they would have had to not report any of the suspicious things that they are attributing to Letby's guilt. They would have to report none of them to the coroner. Because if the coroner saw that stuff, the coroner would have been like, this is clearly evidence of malfeasance. This is not a natural cause of death. They would have ruled it an unnatural death, unlawful, or they would have ruled it, what's the other one? I think there's like 4 options, but basically not a natural cause of death, right? So we already know for a fact, well, we can strongly infer that they covered up the baby's deaths. So if they covered up the baby's deaths, and then they got caught doing that by virtue of the fact that there was going to be further investigation, well, they would have been caught because there was going to be further investigation. That obviously means that they needed a new reason other than, oh, it was just accidental death, or oh, it was a natural death. They had to give another reason other than natural death. So that's where Letby's framing comes in.
Mm. Yeah. It's just a sad case because obviously at one point she wanted to care for these babies, like with good intention. But obviously now it all lines up, and the biggest thing she did wrong was sort of like journaling how she felt and saying, "Oh, I feel disgusted in myself. Like it's my fault this baby died." Blah blah blah. So she didn't help her own case by saying that.
yes, you shouldn't have empathy in the NHS because it's not a place that's not it's not based on empathy. It's based on
Oh no.
it's based on policy, adherence to the 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 rules, the doctrine, and any deviation from that, you are persona non grata. So if you are an empathetic person in the NHS, you will be absolutely destroyed. And any nurse will tell you that you cannot
Yeah.
be because the problem with being a nurse on a neonatal ward is that they all see cover-ups. And I've never heard anyone else say this other than me, but they won't tell you, but I know because I know shit, bro. No, I'm joking. But like they all see cover-ups. I believe you cannot be a nurse on a neonatal ward and not have seen a death cover-up. I think it's impossible. It's impossible.
100%.
So that means that
Yeah.
they are all technically in on it. But it's not that they're in on it. It's just that it's like a taboo. It's like an unspoken taboo. Like, that baby's death probably was because of us. Just don't talk about it. Do you get it? That's how they are.
Yeah. How many years is she supposed to be serving?
Unlimited billion trillion. Like, she's got a whole life order, so she ain't never getting out.
Oh God.
Unless there's a revolution in public consciousness and we realize, hang on a second, we are being played like puppets and the real enemy is actually the government, and the government's tentacles extend through the public sector. The public sector is infiltrated with malevolent psychopaths, and we need to start holding them accountable. I mean, I personally think we should bring back the death penalty for malfeasance in public office. I'll give him a kick
I think
up the backside.
Yeah, that's a very. But what was the actual point in having all these independent doctors saying, "Oh, she's innocent. That couldn't have happened that way."
Well, that was orchestrated by her defense team her new defense team subsequent to her conviction. They've done that because they're trying to get her off, and it's because the case is so obvious. Like, if it was not obvious, I don't think it would even get coverage. If it was ambiguous as to whether she's guilty, it would be like, okay, it's ambiguous. It's obvious that she's not guilty. It's obvious. You have to kind of behave impartially, but it's obvious to anyone that can actually reason and look at the evidence or has the time to, because a lot of people are working. But if you look at the evidence, it's obvious she's been framed. So that's why it's getting coverage. If you look at the coverage, it's kind of 50-50. Like, is she guilty? Is she not? And it's like, no, she's guilty. That's why they're even saying, is she? Is she not? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I do feel like she probably may feel isolated, having confided in the wrong people, and because the hospital made so many mistakes themselves, she had nobody there to back her up or provide proper evidence.
Oh, they won't back
as
you
to
up. Why would you? Let's examine this for a second. So imagine you're on a we're now on a neonatal ward. So what percentage of a neonatal ward do you think is young women?
Oh, the majority, about
What do you think?
80%.
80%. It's probably about 90 to 95%, right? So you're in an environment. You're a young woman. 90 to 90% young women, and this could go if it was 90% men, but typically young women like to group up and provide each other emotional and mental support, and they kind of align with the same ideas because they don't want to rock the boat, right? So imagine you're in an environment like this, right? And someone is being abused around you, but they're being abused by your managers, right? Now you have a mortgage. Let's say you have a mortgage on your house, or you have children, and you even let's say you pay rent and you have children, and you are a nurse. So who monopolizes healthcare in the UK? What is the main healthcare employer in the UK?
Oh God, I don't know.
The NHS, right?
Oh, yeah. Obviously.
Right. So if you get a bad name in the NHS, you pretty much can't really go anywhere. You could try and go private sector, but not as a neonatal nurse. There's no neonatal nurse private sector in the UK, right? Maybe there's some obscure somewhere, right? But there's virtually zero neonatal nurse private sector in the UK, right? So if you get fired as a neonatal nurse, you have basically lost your job. That means you're not going to get another job in the same sector. It'll be very difficult. You're not going to be able to take care of your kids. You know, you're not going to be able to work for the NHS again. They're going to put you on the NHS blacklist, which is real. And then on top of that, you're in a social environment where you even saying anything, first of all, you're challenging your own employers, you're challenging your bosses, and you're challenging the social balance. So you are speaking out in an environment where there's already gossip, bullying, slander, where it's emotionally charged. You know, it's young women who they kind of form a clique to trauma bond over their experiences. You're going to now come out and say, actually, it was Boss Jenny and Boss Michaela. Is that what you're going to say? Just randomly pick those names, but by the way, guys, nothing to do with my daughter's case. Are you going to randomly say, actually, they're lying? The two boss bitches from the girl clique who we went out with for a meal on Wednesday and everybody was having a merry good time and we even got a bit too drunk, but we're not going to bring that up at work. You're going to now say that it's actually Boss B Jenny and Boss B Michaela. Is that what you're going to say? Or are you going to just not say anything, which would be the easier thing to do?
Yeah, but it's not the right thing to do, is it?
Yeah. There's no policy that says do the right thing. The policy says, you know, well, there's policy that says it, but, you know, do they adhere to it, I suppose? Do the right thing.
Yes.
To them, the right thing. You got to understand, and it's not just to demonize and criminalize them, but you got to understand, what is the right thing for a mother to do to ensure that she remains employed so she can take care of her children, or to step out of her way to try to free someone else from a situation that they're not even involved in? What's the right thing? You could argue that the mother is doing the right thing by turning the other way and not exposing what's going on, because she feels that she has a priority to her husband or priority to her child, or even if she's single, she might have a priority to her sick grandmother. People who are working, they don't have, their first priority is to themselves and their families.
Yeah. I think it's a very stressful job for such little pay and for such high responsibility, though. And like, some of the things you see is obviously quite like mentally draining. And you cases like this, you think to yourself, well, I don't want to make a mistake and end up in prison.
Yeah.
And I have no backing because I work for the NHS. Do you know what I mean? Like this.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, because I like to get into like the I'll just say gender, for want of a better word, for now, side of things, because I think it's taboo. People don't like to talk about it, but I think that female psychology plays heavily in to what goes in on neonatal wards. For example, if you look at the family dynamic, when a father is experiencing stress, trauma, abuse, if you notice and if you examine, the father will usually take out his behavior on himself. Have you noticed that? Mm-hmm. He will become an alcoholic. Sometimes he may become violent. Men will take out their behavior with violence, but often he will damage himself. He will do things that harm him and his own mental state, right? But often when you see women experiencing trauma, abuse, etc., they will externalize it. Do you understand? They tend to externalize more. They look for external, so they look for external support, like their friends and their family, and they're willing to alleviate the load on them. And that even could involve their children, you know. Oh, I'm just going to super love my child and make him mind my mind to help them cope. But fathers tend to internalize and mothers tend to externalize. So that's an instinct that we have, a natural instinct, right? So I think that instinct plays out a little bit on the wards, where these people, because they go through this trauma by watching babies die all the time, they start to externalize their trauma. So they start to become evil as a coping and I use the word evil because a lot of these people are evil. It's a coping mechanism for all the trauma they go through, because they go, I'm just going to look around at the environment and externalize how I feel onto this environment, and I'm going to cultivate a culture on the ward where this becomes normal, so that we can all do this, so that we don't have to really dwell upon what we're experiencing, the death of children, and you know, and cover-ups and lies and parents and families being destroyed, right? That's really hard to experience. So yeah.
I just feel sorry for the people that have lost their child, and it seems quite insulting to put down the death as what was it?
Natural causes.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, and then to lie and
insulting.
say that it was done by Lucy Letby. It's lies upon lies, isn't it?
Do you think she should be let out?
Yes, immediately. If I was the king, I would actually give her a king's pardon.
Yeah. It seems like she was just not in the wrong place at the wrong time. I just think that she's obviously overstepped, and it's caused these deaths now. And the thing is, her mental health probably may not recover from the fact that you chose this career, and whether she was found guilty or not, there's obviously been no support for her at all.
I think she can come back from everything she's been through because, you know, and it's possible that she could have been involved in medical negligence. I don't think there's any evidence really to suggest that, but it's possible. But I think she can come back and be redeemed from it, because it's not like she lost her child, which is a permanent thing for her. Ultimately, it's other people that it's permanent for. You know what I mean? But I honestly think Lucy is like the chosen one. Like I think that she's a special person. There's a lot of I think there's something special about her. I think that she will come out eventually, and I think it would be good to just hear her speak, because there's clearly something about her that rubbed the consultants the wrong way, and I know that I'm a special person, and I rubbed the consultants the wrong way as well, because they're jealous people. And so they hate people that have that je ne sais quoi, where they are righteous and they are able to speak about the truth about what happens around them.
Yeah. It's just that cliquey female environment, not just in neonatal care and stuff, but you have to be so careful now who you talk to and who you trust, because the minute that goes, whether it's the Nursing and Midwifery Council, they have a legal obligation to follow up any issues or claims that have sort of been made against them.
Oh yeah, I think I've got. Should we get up? Let me see if I can. I want to get. Well, it's too personal to my case. I was gonna show you the number of nurses that I have. I think I have 4 nurses currently being investigated by the NMC and 7 under review. So that's basically my case. Basically, my daughter's case basically has the largest number of nurses that I've ever seen being investigated by the NMC. I'm sure there's been more in other cases, but I haven't seen it. So it will be very interesting, because I think the GMC are definitely trying to protect, because they know what we've got, even though there are some decent people I've spoke to there. But I think that the NMC knows that we're telling the truth, and that's very, very scary for the individuals in my daughter's case. And the reason I think that they know is because they actually put together some pieces of the puzzle for us. And when I've seen the list of people they're investigating, I'm like, okay, you've come to the same conclusion as me as to who's the main players in this campaign of abuse. So yeah, these people, and then that's not to mention that I'm launching criminal proceedings against them, I'm launching civil proceedings against them, and I'm making content like this, and I'm also making long form content in 2026 about my daughter's case. So yeah, these people are fucked.
Sorry, do you mind me asking? Obviously, this is the first time I've ever been in somebody's box.
Okay.
If you don't mind asking, what's your daughter's situation?
Oh, my daughter was killed by Nottingham City Hospital due to bad medical care, terrible medical care. We were raising concerns of medical care for the entire time, valid concerns, which we've been proven correct on every single concern. Instead of listening to our concerns, they reported us to social services and said we're a risk to our children because we're not listening. I always struggle because I still can't figure out the exact reason, but I think it was that they're saying that we didn't want them to have treatment, even though we did. They're saying we didn't want to go along with what they wanted, because by us saying that they caused harm to our children, they were saying that the thing we're saying caused harm is good, so therefore we must be bad. I don't understand, but obviously I was saying there's been ventilator mismanagement, and they're like, the ventilator's good, therefore you don't want them on the ventilator, so therefore you're bad. But I was saying no. I'm saying I think you should assess what's going on with the ventilator because something's wrong, and I was right. So then they reported us to social services, and long story short, because of the social care investigation, they delayed my daughter's treatment, and then when they finally tried to treat her, they again mismanaged the ventilator because they still didn't change the thing I was telling them to change, and they killed her. After they killed her, they covered up her death, and now because I'm exposing what they've done, they want to put me in prison because of they have a guilty conscience because they killed a child, you know? So now again, you see, most people don't understand, why would someone do this? Why would someone do this? It's just, imagine, it's very difficult to deal with someone like me. I will look you in the eye and tell you, you're a liar and you're a murderer. But I'm not saying that they're murderers, but that must haunt them. And so they have to get rid of me. So now they're trying to put me in prison.
Sorry to hear about that. I'm currently under a clinical negligence claim myself.
Really? What's that about?
Just the lack of communication between my GP. I fell in work, and I ended up hitting my head so bad that I developed epilepsy.
Mm.
And there was no support, and I've been falling ever since. And I've had admissions where they've not given my anti-epileptic meds. Made me feel like shit, basically.
Have they taken accountability and said we did something wrong, or are they covering up?
No, they're trying to cover up. Hence why I'm sort of like,
thank you, Donna,
going down the legal route, because the NHS is a big thing to want to put a lawsuit to.
The thing is with these people is you actually can't reason with them.
No.
Ali Garfield says, why do you not go after the ventilator company involved as well? Great question. So there is actual, there's acts, I'm trying to remember. See, I'm trying to remember this stuff for you guys. Is it consumer good? No. There's an act regarding, properly made products or whatever that I could sue them under. But the thing is, the ventilator wasn't not working in the sense that the machine wasn't made properly or had a fault in it. The ventilator was malfunctioning in the sense that it was putting up an error code. So if you look, you guys can even look this up. The ventilator is called the Servo N ventilator, right? Yes, I think it's a medical device. There's something like that act. So it's called the Servo N ventilator. And there's actually a section in the Servo N ventilator manual, and it says serious alarms. So that it characterizes the levels of alarms. It says that there are normal alarms, then there are kind of serious alarms, then there are really serious alarms. So the normal alarms are alarms that are telling you something, but the machine is still fine. The minor alarms are the alarms where it's telling you something that you need to act on, but you may still be fine. The serious alarm basically means you need to do something, or the patient is going to basically either suffer harm or die, right? So the alarm, when my daughter's ventilator malfunctioned, it was ringing a serious alarm saying error, pressures not being achieved. It was saying flow sensor error, pressures not being achieved. The flow sensor is basically the thing that is sensing the pressures being delivered to the child's lung, right? So what had happened was my daughter's lungs were not receiving pressure, and they had assigned a student nurse to an ill patient. Like, I say ill because they'd collapsed her lungs 3 days before. So she was not ill, but she had been damaged again, right? So, and the thing they did before was they put her on the ventilator with the wrong size tube. When you do this, it can localize pressure. It can increase damage to the lungs. So they damaged her lungs. So now she's on the ventilator with damaged lungs in more critical condition. The ventilator is alarming, saying pressure's not being achieved, and they've got a student fucking nurse there who's just doesn't know what the alarm is and is pressing silent on the alarm for like an hour straight. Every time it rings, what? And she goes and just press silent on it. Because she's been trained when the ventilator alarms, if the numbers are good, press silence. But it's not whether the numbers are good or not. It's whether that thing needs to be changed. So when she finally started deteriorating, she deteriorated rapidly. And then her lungs collapsed in multiple places and she died 2 days later. And the interesting thing about it is that the staff earlier in my daughter's care said to my girl, do you want her to be put on the servo end ventilator? It's our new ventilator. And my girl said no, because and her reason for saying no is she saw the staff getting trained to use that ventilator like 2 days before. So they're putting critical patients on these ventilators that have barely been trained to use them. So my girl said no. They eventually then put her on that exact ventilator without our consent, because they said, look, her breathing's getting a bit worse. We're going to put her on, right? We didn't want to say no because they were telling us we're going to take your kids using social services if you disagree with us. Do you get it? Can you see the layers of coercion, abuse, and manipulation? So we said, okay, do what you have to do, because otherwise you're going to kidnap our children, right? So then she ends up on this ventilator that the staff have admitted in their own notes. We are going to put her on the ventilator, and they've written this in the month my daughter died. Staff not trained well with this ventilator, but we're going to put her on it anyway. That's what they've written, right? So they've put her on a ventilator with a student nurse that they've even acknowledged is not trained to use the ventilator. And then the student nurse, bless her poor heart, because I don't think she did this on purpose, and now she's accidentally killed a child, but I don't hold a grudge against her because she didn't do it on purpose. It's not her fault. But she's then done something that's caused my child's death, right? So that's, to answer your question in a really roundabout way, the viewer, that's how the ventilator is not the problem. It's how they're using the ventilator, the mismanagement of the ventilator.
Yeah. It's just, and from obviously a father's perspective, it sounds like you didn't have any reassurance or any sort of support in that decision that you didn't really want her on that life support machine or ventilator.
It's not even that I didn't want her on it. I just knew something was going wrong, because when my twins were born, they put her on with the wrong size tube, and then both of them were bleeding from the lungs. And they were telling us they're bleeding because they're premature. And we were like, there's loads of other babies on the ward and none of them are bleeding. And they were like, oh, no, don't worry, nothing's gone wrong. And we were like, something's gone wrong. And they were like, you're being aggressive. So we're like, okay, let's back off a bit. Then we come back a few weeks later, guys, what happened earlier when they were bleeding from the lungs? Are you sure something didn't go wrong? And they're like, we don't want to talk about it. You're asking too many questions, interfering with care. And we're like, no, something's gone wrong. You understand? So then eventually they admitted, oh, something went wrong. So we're saying to them, okay, is it the ventilator? And they're kind of saying yes, but they don't want to fully admit it, because if they say yes, then if one of our children dies, they've just admitted that they caused it. Do you get it? So because our children were in critical condition, they didn't want to say, yes, it was us that caused this, because then it would be an admission of liability. You understand? Yeah. So they're just like, oh, no, kind of no. And then eventually we start formally saying, no, you've done something wrong. You've harmed our children. Then what they decide to do instead is report us to social services and say, you're disagreeing with medical care. Do you see how it all comes together?
Yeah, the minute you try and voice a concern within the NHS, the more they just flip it around on the parents and say, oh, well, no, they need to be seen by social services because they're being neglected. And that's not the case.
Oh, sorry, you go.
No, it sounds like that's not the case.
Yeah,
you were just a concerned dad.
It happens to a lot of parents, because then when the social worker comes, she's got multiple medical professionals telling her dad's aggressive and dad doesn't want his child on a ventilator, and she's like, what the hell? And then she's asking me, and I'm like, they're lying, because I can't see the notes at this. I've not done the in-depth analysis at this point. So she's asking me, why don't you want your child on the ventilator? Why being aggressive? And I'm like, they're lying. I can't explain it to her like, oh, it's a systemic problem that's harmed my daughter and it's actually mismanagement and the tube is the wrong size, because I don't have evidence of that. All I know is that what she's saying is not true. So then she's telling me, why would all the nurses lie? And I'm saying, but the nurses are documenting what the doctors are telling them to document. And she's like, so you're saying the nurses and the doctors are lying? And I'm like, what can I say? Yes. You understand? So then she's writing down, Dad doesn't understand the concerns. He thinks there's some conspiracy and that all of the staff are lying. Do you understand?
Yes.
So can you see? And then now when somebody else comes along and reads all of the notes, they're like, oh, the nurses say Dad's done something, the doctors say Dad's done something, and the social worker. What have you done, Dad? And I'm like, I haven't fucking done anything. And then they're like, Dad said fuck. Why is he swearing? Yes, he was aggressive to me too. And I'm like, no, I said fuck because you're covering up what happened to my daughter and you've reported me to social services. And then they're like, Dad doesn't understand the concerns. Then they're asking me, what do you think you've done? Have you done anything? And I'm like, no, because how can I say I've done something if I haven't done anything? So I'm like, no, I haven't done anything. They're like, Dad refuses to accept accountability. So they're adding allegations. Dad refuses to accept accountability. Dad's aggressive. And then they start saying, oh, my interference in treatment is what caused the harm. Because they're trying to cover up the harm. Oh, it's because you were asking questions that delayed the care. I'm like, I'm asking questions because the consultant wasn't on the ward, because the consultants are hiding from us because they don't want us to tell them that what they did earlier caused, they're hiding from us. And we're saying, where are the consultants? And they're saying, oh, they're not present. So then I'm like, okay, but my daughter had a split. They split her ear open. They split my son's nose open. I'm taking pictures of this stuff. Like, what the fuck? So I'm like, where's the consultant? And they're like, oh, you're asking the nurses questions and making them feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, because my daughter's nose is split in two. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, Dad won't stop asking questions. It's delaying care. And I'm like, well, don't you think the delay is because you told us we have to speak to the consultant when we have serious concerns? So we have to wait for the consultant. So that's what's delaying care is. Do you understand? And I can go into it, but you can see how, like, yeah, like Spy says, you fall flat even if you're right. And it's weird because the weird thing about it now is you would think that after hearing me say this, because they know I say this stuff all the time, you would think they would go, oh shit, that makes so much fucking more sense than some guy who randomly wants to kill his own child and is just going around being aggressive. Like, it makes way more sense that what I just said is happening than that. You get what I'm saying? But instead they just double down. No, it didn't happen. No, it didn't happen. La, it didn't happen. You're the aggressive one. La. That's all they do. You understand? You can't reason with them.
No. And it's not, the NHS is not ever going to back somebody. They'd rather keep their professionalism and their sort of supply of care. I just think it's only a matter of time before it's privatized, because no area is coping, and they're not listening to not just patients but like members of family, and I just think it's going to end up going private, I think.
I hope so.
And I don't know ever.
I mean, what I was thinking this in the car earlier, like, is it better for people to keep dying or for people to have to pay more money? Like, at what point are we going to be like, okay, maybe it will cost more? I don't know that it will necessarily cost more. There's a lot of market forces that can affect what the cost of healthcare is in the UK. But then the question is, are we just saying, okay, because it costs more, people are just going to keep dying? Like, at what point are we like, no, we need to fix this even if it involves some level of privatization?
Yeah, I think it's beyond fixing. I don't see in the next sort of 3 to 5 years the NHS even being like there anymore for patients. And the strain is like, it's too much for patients waiting in chairs, and yeah, like you said, there's absolutely no empathy with how they sort of like go about your situation. Because even listening to you, you still sound a little bit not traumatized, but it's obviously a painful topic.
I'm extra. You see, my problem is I look too damn good. No, I'm joking. No. My problem, like, no, I am seriously traumatized. Like, it's bad, bro. It's bad. Like, I would actually try to triage myself, but then they'll come and take my kids. I'm genuinely scared of like what's gonna happen in the next few years, just with me in general. Like, because like this is bad, bro. Like the level of trauma, you can't function day to day with this level of trauma. It's impossible. Like I don't even know how I get everything done because it just never stops. Like it never stops, and then they do more. They add more to it. Like they trying to put me in prison, so I'm now dealing with a legal case. I've got orders on me in court orders because they just. It's like sometimes I feel like have you ever seen is it King Kong when they like get the they finally get King Kong and then they got him in the cage and he's like performing on the stage or something and then they have to just put loads of chains on him. Like that's how I feel like King Kong, like they're just throwing everything because it's like I just won't fold. You get it? So it's like now we're in the most absurd place where it's like now you have to go to prison after we killed your child. Like who wrote this script? Like we made mistakes that caused your child to almost get taken away. Then we killed your child, but you're the bad one that needs to go to prison now. Like, where? How did we get here? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you're going to prison because your posts online, your words online, caused the staff who killed your child and covered it up alarm. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Like.
Yeah, I don't. It sounds horrible, but yeah, I think maybe privatising the NHS would be the best way forward. Because then you won't get people coming in and out of A&E or abusing the services.
Well, I guess see guys, me proselytizing, we've turned someone else over to the dark side of privatization.
Yeah, 100%.
Welcome to the dark side.
My granddad hated when I told him I was leaving the NHS, and I was like, look, this NHS system is not going to be around for much longer. So, go on.
No, I keep interrupting you.
No, go on.
There's a lecture online by this. He's like this Chinese professor. I think he's a Chinese guy. I think it's called Death by Gerontocracy or something like that. Or is it maybe like Rule by Gerontocracy? Rule by Gerontocracy. And he basically breaks down. Let me find him. He basically breaks down how because everybody's old now in society, the systems have shifted to basically support everyone who's old. So like, for example, the NHS system, who does it benefit really? Like, let me really break it down. Does it benefit like a 27-year-old or let's say a 37-year-old guy at the height of his career earning 90K? Does the NHS benefit him? No, the NHS really is benefiting the people who are maximum dependent, old people, like 75, 80, they live their whole life, but they've got their pension, you know, they've got their, in the US, they got, well, let's not do a US because that's a different system, but, you know, they got their pension, so they are the ones using up the NHS. So it's, when we blaspheme the NHS, they are the potential sacrificial lambs that the destruction of the NHS will cause, will they are the sacrificial lambs that the destruction of NHS will result in or whatever, right? So it's a system skewed towards ensuring that the old people who live through this system, who love it and they're dependent on it and that's their bread and butter and cup of tea, thank you very much, and it's at the expense of us. We're paying for it. The old young people, we're paying for it. So-called young people, you know, early 20s to 40s, 50s, whatever, right? We're paying for the old people. When we blaspheme the NHS, we blaspheme the system of the old people. The system that used to work back in my day, you know, it used to work. That's what they're thinking about when they're thinking about the NHS, the system from back in the day, right? We need a new system for today, which is, in my opinion, the mixed healthcare model, right? Private, more private, and socialized.
Yeah, I think the thing we have as well now is with an aging population, I've worked on wards where the patient is medically fit for discharge. However, there's so many people needing to go into nursing homes. And it sounds awful, but these patients have to stay in hospital, hoping that somebody dies in a care home soon, so that they can be transferred there. And no insult intended, but yeah, the elderly bed block so much because obviously they need the help, but there's no movement ever.
Yeah.
And
Like it's a critique of the system, not a criticism of elderly people.
no,
Like,
no, it sounds awful saying, or ringing up a nursing home and saying, oh, we've got no places, but we might have because we feel like this patient here now is going to pass away soon. So as soon as they do, we can move forward in. I honestly,
so
this
do you still work for the NHS even though I mean you were harmed at work?
No. So I actually did a really sensible thing when I fell and hit my head. I had a skull fracture, and that started the epilepsy. I had no support from any of my managers, any sort of professionals, and you kind of just left to your own devices, really. And people just seem to be getting more and more sick, and hence why the NHS is under so much pressure. It's not sustainable at all.
So is your case like employment tribunal, and then is it like Equality Act, failure to make reasonable adjustments? Is it, or is it just like yeah, like what is the actual thing that you're claiming for?
So it's
Loss of earnings?
probably, well, yeah, loss of earnings,
Yeah.
and obviously decline in my mental health. I'm not really one for suing. I never have sued, but the care in inverted commas has been awful. And now that I've developed epilepsy, I can't work as a nurse until it's controlled. But I had no support from my managers or anything like that. So yeah, I put it down as medical negligence. And yeah, like I said, I'm not there for the money, but they need, like, nurses and doctors, even though they are under a lot of pressure, they need to be doing better. Even myself, like, I took my pin off the register because my mental health was not good. And it was probably one of the best decisions I made because I could feel myself getting deeper and deeper into this sort of, oh, I work for a messed up system, a broken system. And even so much so, when I qualified as a nurse, my very first shift was a night shift. It was during COVID. I ended up being in charge because I was the only sort of regular member of staff there. And I had the sickest patients. We had 8 patients, all had COVID. And then by the morning, I only had 1 patient to hand over. So mentally, I'm like, how do you deal with, like, patients not being able to see family? Like, yeah,
Do you feel yourself taking on the emotional burdens of your patients, or do you feel that you're not able to take on their burdens because you have so much burden yourself?
no, that's the thing. I've been pouring from an empty cup for the last 5 years, and I think if you can't look after yourself first and foremost, then you shouldn't even be in a position where you look after other people. Hence why I put my pin to one side.
Yeah, I'm
But
glad.
I,
You thought about it in that way.
yeah, I think I'll never go back to nursing. I don't think. I think it's too stressful for me, and the amount you get paid, I can go and work in Lidl on a till. Like, I only chose nursing because I love to help people. However, that help has not included helping myself and my mental health. I'm not gonna lie, there've been times where I've been mid seizure or hitting my head, and it was only on the weekend that I wasn't feeling well. I fell off my bike, and I've got a bleed between my brain and my skull. And I kept getting fobbed up on my doctor, like, oh, don't worry, like everyone gets headaches, blah blah blah.
How old are you?
30.
Did you say 30?
Yeah.
Mate, this is a lot. This is a lot to be going through health wise at 30.
Oh, trust me, I know.
This is like, and you know the crazy thing is I I wanted to mention when you said about pouring from an empty cup. I delivered my most recent son, and I remember there was a time where while my wife was like giving birth, she said something like, get me that thing," and then I kind of got annoyed. I was like, wait, like da da da, and then I stopped and I thought, oh my god, that's how they feel. And I said to her, I'm so sorry. You know, it's because when you said it that way, I was rushing. I was getting something else, because it was such a great birth, but because we can communicate well with each other. So then I was like, wow, like, so then imagine this 10 times a day, yeah, or 8 times a day, right? So then I thought to myself, what happens to a person long term when this is their everyday? And I really think that the health toll that working for the NHS, generally speaking, takes on you is not even worth it. My mum gave like 40 years to the NHS, and I think she regrets it. I know I'm not going to speak for her, but you know, what have they given her in return? A dead granddaughter. You know, she had to fight for some like certain severance things with them. You know, she got disrespected a lot in her career. She experienced abuse, racism, you know, sexism, anything. You know, what did they give back? Did she get when she left? Was it like a sense of honor that, you know, it seems like they just chew up all the NHS staff and spit them out. And sometimes I say to them, you know, sometimes because I get people come on and they argue with me and defend the NHS, and I say to them, you do realize that this is the system you're going to be dependent on. So all this defense that you're giving them, you best hope that they think about you the way you think about them.
Yeah, but that's where it comes into sort of, you've put too much towards other people, and now you're at home having to wear a sponge helmet just in case you have a seizure, because I haven't seen my neurologist in 7 months.
So that's a sorry to cut you off. That's a waiting list issue, right?
Yeah, just to see my neurologist. Yeah.
Thank you so much, because again, we talk a lot about the NHS waiting list, and you know, I can't tell you how many. What's your name? Sorry, Taylor. Yeah, Taylor. I can't tell you how many times people come on and they downplay the waiting list. I say there's 7.7 million people on the waiting list. Oh, you know, you can still get seen. I went the other day. I had a bad shoulder. I say no. That's involving people like yourself, Taylor, where you have a chronic issue or chronic injury, and you're waiting 7 months. That's the waiting. That's the human cost of the waiting list. So now you are a member of UK society who's walking around feeling the psychological impact of feeling like you're not being taken care of. So then that impacts how you engage in commerce. That impacts how you feel about work. See, even the way you're talking about work now. Instead of you saying, oh, you know, I want to excel and get to the highest point of my career at 30, you're saying, you know, I'll be happy to just work at a till. And you're not even thinking about your human potential. This is the real human cost of the waiting list.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I haven't seen him for 7 months. And I'm just left to seize with a bleed on my brain, well, between my brain and my skull. And I just think to myself, there's no way I'm ever going to put myself in a position where I don't prioritize my own health. Because it's very easy to get sucked into you must be a robot, you must wear a mask in work, blah, blah, blah. And that's obviously very draining, both mentally and physically. And it's just like, you've got to be so careful about who you ask for help for. Because it was only last year that I was ready to sort of jump off a bridge. because
Can I just say, not to discount or gas at you at all, but TikTok is very particular with certain themes. So while I wholeheartedly empathize with you, please, if you say that, because it will just lock the live off if you say stuff like that.
oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I
but
didn't.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, so yeah, mentally and physically, I wouldn't go back. And I've also been concerned about some of the nurses that I used to work for, coming in crying, leaving crying. It's not like no job should make you feel like that.
Yeah. So then you can even think about, because I had staff, I had allegations that my questioning made staff cry, and then you almost think about, well, maybe, again, it's always important to look at things from the other perspective, even though I know I didn't make them cry, but maybe they were trying to protect their staff, even if they knew what they were doing was wrong, they felt obliged to try to protect their staff over me, some big randomer. You know what I mean? So maybe that's
Mm,
part of the cover-up culture, is that's when they're trying to protect their staff, and then unfortunately it's at the expense of the public.
yeah, and it's never going to end well in regards to fixing this broken system. We're past that. I I think the more people that going in and actually seeing for themselves what is happening, I couldn't justify telling patients, oh yeah, there's 16 other people in front of you, and I know you're in pain, but you can't be seen by a doctor for any pain relief, and you're there for like 14, 15 hours
So
just
someone
trying to
said
get
in the
home.
comments, have you thought about going abroad? There's a guy on here. What's his name? Luke or something like that. There's a guy on here that comments on my videos a lot, and he had an I think he had a neurological issue. Yeah, he had a
Mm,
neurological issue. I think it was epilepsy, and then he was saying to the NHS that something is wrong with him, and then they were saying like that he was a drug. They made some false allegation against him and sectioned him, but then he
yeah,
went out to Massachusetts, which has amazing hospitals, and then they said, "Oh no, you've actually just got epilepsy."
yeah,
I'll try and put you in contact with him actually, because yeah, I think you should go, because you can actually get free healthcare in America, believe it or not. It's a certain way you
mm,
have to do it, and you have to go to certain states. But in Massachusetts, New York, they're not going to check your immigration status, and they're not going to chase you too hard for the money either. So I suggest, if you can afford even the flight, and you might want to go out there and see if you can, you know, because you don't want to,
second opinion.
your health is paramount. Someone said I got sectioned for focal epilepsy. Wow, that's insane. So we've got, what is that, 2 people I know now, and then Taylor saying that
Yeah,
NHS causes epilepsy. So okay, we need to keep an eye on this
yeah.
little
I'm gonna jump
topic.
down. I gotta
Yeah,
walk my doggy. Thank you so much for having. I've given you a follow. Thank you
appreciate it.
for the box. You take
Great,
care.
great conversation, guys. Let me just
Bye.
get my charger quickly so we don't die on us. One sec. So, man, Taylor's got me feeling a bit somber, because I'm just genuinely concerned, not only at the harm that she suffered, but also at the harm that she suffered at such a young age. I know we've kind of deviated a little bit from the Letby topic as well, but remember, as I say a lot, Lucy Letby is not guilty is one aspect of it, and the second aspect is the NHS frames people. If you're watching live on YouTube, thank you so much. We've got a decent amount of live viewers. I know people probably joined and they thought, oh, where's the Letby conversation? Well, we do have a big Letby conversation, but it's also about the NHS in general, if you're new here. So guys, please press the follow button. It doesn't really take anything to follow us on YouTube. For the people watching on TikTok, the YouTube is at State of Deception, all one word, State of Deception, right? That's the name of my show, so to speak. It's got a different layout. You can see me from a different angle or whatever on YouTube. And show some support if you're on TikTok as well. Tap the screen, like the live. I think this was a really good live. And in fact, I'm not even going to end the live. What I'm going to do, and this is another reason why I want people to transition to YouTube, is because I have or whatever on YouTube. Amma Reacts. And show some support if you're on TikTok. I have Amma Reacts. Tap the screen. Amma Reacts is my reaction channel where I can react to videos live, and I have videos lined up to react to. So for the very first time, if you guys want, you can come and watch me react to videos. So the live is technically not over. That's crazy, right? Like, the live's not over. The live is actually beginning on YouTube and Facebook. If you want to come and join, will you join us, guys? And it's interesting too, because this is my first live where I put the live on 18+. So I now have realized that I think my lives were getting restricted because of the themes that I discuss potentially shadow banning me when my live doesn't have 18+ selected. Okay, and that's my theory, it's my excuse as to why we're not going crazy. But we will go crazy with the numbers if you guys show some more support. So I was just testing, for the people viewing on YouTube, I was just testing the view for Amma Reacts. Don't worry, that's going to be a full screen video, and you're going to see in fact the lineup we got. Let's see what we got in the lineup. So I'll talk about actually the lineup. So if you're interested in watching me react to any of these videos on TikTok, head on over to YouTube and you can watch the reactions live, or you can just head on over to Facebook. My Facebook is Amma space Maduako, Maduako, and we're building our channel brick by brick, baby, brick by brick. Alex says you're on my For You page. To be fair, Amma. Alex, it's because you're part of the mature audience, part of the adult audience. It recommended to the 18+. Or it just realized that my conspiracy theories are, they need the Batman signal. The conspiracy theorists needed the Batman signal. So, yeah, no, okay, that's good to know that we're on the For You page. Who underpaid? Okay. Sorry, I just saw Wesley Watley. Hi, Wesley Watley. Thank you for joining our live. So yeah, as I was saying, let's get to the videos that are on the React. Okay, there's one video I'm going to touch on a little bit. It's called Why America's Poorest State is Richer Than Britain. Now, that is a cheeky one, but I'm going to react to that after I do the US live, and I might do the US live in like 3-4 hours, right? So let's see. So this is what we've got in the actual reaction playlist already lined up. Okay, hold up. So we've got Starmer's ID plan, Big Brother UK. We've got Why Britain's Housing Market is a Time Bomb. We've got Police Seize Child's Phone. So this is that. I think I mentioned some of these before. So, you know, that viral meme or whatever. Then we've got How the City of London Broke Britain. Okay. So if you are interested, guys, please head over to State of Deception on YouTube. All one word. State of Deception. Isn't that awesome? I'm even going to show you guys on YouTube what the lineup looks like. Yeah, woo, yeah. I got to promote myself. I don't have a team yet. Soon come once we're on 10 million subscribers, guys. Let's get some of the comments. Alex says digital ID needs to be first. Panic to people now, unfortunately. What's your YouTube channel? It is State of Deception, all one word. Do you know, I could potentially stay live on TikTok while I do the reactions, but I don't know, because these reaction videos are available on YouTube after I do them, so I'd rather have them good quality so they can be watched back without me just keep saying hello TikTok family, or come and check out. But the thing is, you won't be able to hear what I'm reacting to. Does that make sense? So that's the problem. Unless maybe I put. Tell me if you can. Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to hear what I'm reacting to, guys. So you're just gonna hear me talking. Okay, let's try it. So. Let's take the background off. So that people don't come thinking it's a Lucy Letby live. And then I'll just do it for the people that show support, because I love you guys on TikTok too. But really, what you guys should be doing is just heading on over to YouTube. Okay. So now you see me in my I don't even want to say the word I was going to use, because then TikTok will be like, "What? You're nude?" Okay, so if you guys are ready, we're on YouTube Live. Starmer's ID plan, Big Brother UK. We're reacting live. Okay, so let's see what we got here.
Fatigue and sluggish digestion. Meet your gut's new best friend. Store balance. Smart delay.
Digital ID in the UK.
Okay, let's go. State of Deception Live.
This morning on Trending, Digital ID in the UK. A little known Sex Pistols B-side. Wind farms don't work if it's windy. The UK recognises Palestine, and Al Qaeda at the UN.
I've got an idea. If I connect to the Bluetooth speaker, can you guys hear what's coming out of the earphones? Do you know what? I'm sorry, you guys on TikTok, just accept it. Let's entertain the YouTube viewers properly. Everyone head over to YouTube if you want to watch what I'm reacting to. I'll say live, but just, head over to YouTube. Elle says, can I follow you? Yes. State of Deception on YouTube. We're reacting live right now to Starmer's ID plan, Big Brother UK.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Trending. It's Monday. Hope you're ready for another week in the asylum. As always, brought to you in association with NutriHealth 365. The link is in the description below, so give that a click and check them out. Digital ID in the UK. It's a secret no one's been talking about. Starmer set to announce digital ID cards within days to curb illegal migration.
Classic okie doke that everybody fell for. They told everybody, oh yeah, it's the small boats. The small boats, guys. It's all about the small boats. It's nothing about public sector corruption and mismanagement of funds. Nothing to do with black operations in Afghanistan and data breaches causing people to be able to come over to the UK and have a claim to live in the United Kingdom. It's nothing to do with monopolizing natural resources across the world. It's just because bad people coming on small boats, right? And everybody fell for the okie doke, and then now they say, oh yeah, you need digital ID to sort that problem out, don't you? Problem, reaction, solution.
The illegal migration that he and his predecessors in the Conservative Party and their predecessors in the Labour Party have all enabled and encouraged.
Alex says, Amy should have come to Liverpool last Sunday. You'd have loved it. What was in Liverpool? Danny Baxter says, maternity wards throughout England provide below standard care. Thank you, TikTok family. Please head over to YouTube at State of Deception.
The Prime Minister looks set. He does look set. I've seen him. He looks set to announce the launch of digital ID cards in an attempt to clamp down on illegal immigration. Insiders, who are they? Doesn't matter. Insiders say Keir Starmer plans to announce the digital ID scheme at the next Labour conference, which is due to begin on September the 28th. I mean, it says due to begin. I would imagine that it's pretty much locked in to begin, isn't it? I assume they've booked the conference hall and everything at this point. We're in September already.
Oh,
however, details of the scheme are still being fine-tuned, and the announcement date could shift. It could shift. Starmer reportedly believes digital ID could act as a deterrent for things.
We know this, don't we?
Act as a support. Of course they have.
What are they saying about it?
Politician. To be honest. But the reason is, this whole thing is part of it. This whole leaked. It was leaked to the press. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It wasn't leaked to the press. This is how they do these things. They drip feed the information out to their friends in the media, which is a problem for me anyway. The fact that these politicians have friends in the media. They shouldn't have friends in the media. It's not your job as a journalist to be friends with politicians. Your job is to hold them to account and to report the truth to the population, who these politicians are supposed to serve. We all know they don't, but they're meant to. So it's always a red flag for me, and it doesn't matter what government. Doesn't matter what government. Boris had his friends in the media as well. Shouldn't be mates. It's not about friendship. Because there's a conflict of interest then. Because you've got to write articles about your friends.
TikTok, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this live because of the name of the live, but I'll just go straight back live again. I'll even try and see if there's a way you guys can listen along. But take care, TikTok. We're just going to continue on YouTube. So everyone follow at State of Deception. I'll be live again shortly on TikTok, but I suggest everyone just follows on YouTube.
But what they do, they drip feed this stuff to their friends in the media for two reasons. One is to gauge public opinion. They want to see how people react to it. Because if the reaction is too against it, too bad, then they kind of backpedal slightly and go, okay, well, we still want it, so we're still going to come back with it, but we've not quite softened them up enough yet. So we'll kind of blah, blah, blah. And then the conference will happen, reportedly might happen, on the 28th of September, and he won't announce it. And everyone go, oh, I thought he was going to announce digital ID, didn't he?
Yeah, I actually had someone raise a good point about how on live, and they were like, it was on a different live than the one I run, but they were like, I don't think digital ID is even going to happen because like no one wants it. So if they implement it, it's not going to work. Similar to like track and trace with COVID. So yeah, maybe he's right about they're just trying to like whet our appetite with digital ID, and eventually people will just go, oh yeah, go on. They'll sigh up the next generation. Guys, don't you remember we kind of had digital ID before? Like when you're like 12 years old, you're not really thinking about it, and then you'll just kind of accept it. Like they just slowly bring it in. It might not be now, but it's coming soon, right? I don't think it's gonna. Do you guys think it'll be successful now, YouTube? Like, do you think it will be successful straight away?
Oh, well, yeah, that's because they spent the week gauging public opinion. Perfect example of that was when they wanted to lock down. Again, this is a Tory government and this is a Labour government because they're two cheeks of the same arse. Stick reform in there, you got three arse cheeks. So it doesn't actually matter who it is. But the Tories did it, where they locked down the country on the Christmas of 2020. They wanted to lock down the country again on the Christmas of 2021, if you remember. But obviously throughout, the end of 2020 and then massively throughout 2021, particularly in the March and April, the protest movement in England was enormous. It was growing. It wasn't a few hundred people in a park. It was tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in the March and April of 2021. Things had sort of started to go back a little bit. People were going out to the pubs, eat out to help out and all those schemes. And so people started having conversations, and conversations went like, do you know anyone? No, I don't either. No. Weird, innit? It is weird, innit? And so at that point, people weren't buying it anymore. So when they wanted to lock down in December 2021 for the Christmas, they did this same thing. They leaked it out to their mates in the media. This is what Boris is planning. This is what they're planning. And all they were doing was gauging public opinion. And the public said, no, mate, it's not going to happen. And so the government was left with a choice. We lock down anyway, and they ignore us, and we show our hand, which is that we have no real power because everything is about consent. And if they're not consenting, what can we do? We can't set the police on them because there's not enough of them. These outnumber us.
I'm sorry. I don't know why he's acting like there aren't like there are people in the UK that are actually able to fight anything back. Like 20k police could control the whole population because we have no guns. Like, what the hell are we gonna do? Like, you even see when there's riots, they literally just come with a horse, and then they just come with the bully van with the facial recognition ID thingy, and then they're just like, if you want to leave the police cordon, you have to walk past here, and then they just get a picture of your face and come and boot your door in like 3 days later.
Enormously. And so if we lock down, we show the people of this nation, and indeed the world, where the true power lies. And we can't have that. So they didn't lock down. Boris came out and said, yeah, we've decided not to lock down.
Cheers,
You didn't decide, Boris. You didn't decide. You were faced with a choice, which was don't lock down or be completely ruined. So you went with we won't lock down. So that's an element of it as well with this digital ID about gauging public opinion. The other, which works, in a different way, is about just sort of drip feeding the information out there. So it's not a shock. You imagine if you didn't have all these stories being leaked, and then suddenly Starmer comes out and announces digital ID. That would be a shock. And people go, whoa, hang on. No chance, mate. Where's that come from? So you feed it out and you feed it out and you feed it out. Because what that does is it creates an inevitability about it, which is what they want. Because that inevitability goes out there. You have all the ministers being interviewed and all the media bubbleheads, mainstream media bubbleheads, including the ones from alternative outlets like GB News, basically doing
Zionist agit propaganda, literally.
Their sales pitch for digital ID. It's just another form of ID. Oh, mate, you use a passport, don't you? Yeah, and a driving license. Yeah. Okay. So it lets them do that, buys them a bit of time. But what the inevitability does, which is the main point of it, is it creates an apathy towards it. Creates an apathy within the population of, and I've seen this because I tweeted about this yesterday about the fact that, not having it, and even some of the people coming back to me that I'm aligned with on a lot of things, not all, but a lot, was saying, I don't see how we stop this. They're going to do it anyway. And you're like, that's what they want you to feel. That's how they want you to think. That's what this leaking to the press does. It bombards it. He's going to announce it. It's going to happen. He's going to introduce it. As if, what are you going to do about it, mate? Say no.
Exactly. And, I feel like he's pretty much hit the nail on the head. He's not really saying anything that anyone else isn't saying. I was not talking for a while, mainly because I was just setting up on TikTok. So I figured out a way to funnel people from TikTok onto here. So I've just got a live now. Whenever I'm live reacting to content, I'm just going to go live on TikTok and it just says, watch on YouTube at State Reception. So if you want to watch the live stream and see what we're reacting to, you're going to have to head over to YouTube, right? So
that's what we're going to do. But what because they do this every time, is they make it in your interests. I've said this multiple times, but I'm going to repeat it again because I'm boring like that.
Whoops.
Left and right, again, it's confusing in terms of what is left and what is right anymore. I spent my whole life being called a southern softy leftist. Now I'm far right. My views haven't changed. You do you, hun, as long as it doesn't negatively impact anyone else. But let's go with the traditional left and right for the sake of this point. A lot of the people on the so-called left that supported the COVID mandates and all that draconian imposition, you don't really need to persuade them to go with digital ID. They tend to just sort of be a bit, yeah, I'll be right. Don't worry about it. Not everything's a conspiracy. If you're not doing anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about. You've heard it all before.
Do people genuinely hang around with people that actually think like this? Anyone that's like this in real life, I literally just give them a verbal slap of wit. You little lemming, you little sheep. Who do you think you're, tosser? No. You're wet. That's not why would you have friends that are just like, yeah, mate, don't worry, I'm going to take the digital ID. You're like, no, bro, stop being a moisty. Stop.
That stuff. Whereas those more on the right, they're the ones that would be opposed to digital ID. Overall, with a few exceptions, those were the ones that stood up to the COVID tyranny, right? So you need to get them on side with digital ID. So what you need to do is use an excuse that they care about. And what they care about is mass immigration.
He's clocked it.
So that's why...
He's clocked that. That's why they started, telling everybody about asylum boats is because, see, it's so easy to see. This is the thing. You don't even have to be smart to figure this stuff out. I knew when they were getting everyone pissed off about small boats, I knew already that it was about ID before they even said it. It's so obvious. It's just why do they suddenly care now when it's the people just...
Farmer's using that as the excuse because he's using that as a little fishing rod to try and hook those people in on the right that would be against digital ID. But it's so obvious that we need to call it out for what it is.
I think he's pretty much summarized it. I'm going to move on to the next video, which is why Britain's housing market is a time bomb. The digital ID narrative is a bit tired out now. It's pretty obvious that, we got tricked and yet again, we fell for their BS. But, what can you do? Guys, if you're on TikTok right now, check us out on YouTube at State of Deception. There's a reason why you can't see the video we're watching. It's because you're not subscribed on YouTube. So we're going to head on to the next video, why Britain's housing market is a time bomb.
The average property in the UK now costs 9 times the typical salary. The last time house prices were this expensive relative to average earnings was in the year 1876, nearly 150 years ago.
Jesus.
Owning a home in Britain was once a goal many people could achieve. Today, it feels more like a dream slipping further away with every passing year. Young families are getting locked out, and rents are going out of control. This is no longer a housing crisis, but a ticking time bomb that now threatens the UK economy. If this bubble bursts, it could take down everything about the current UK housing market.
How many fucking crises do we need? Like, housing crisis, NHS crisis, inflation crisis, food crisis. Like, what more? Like, everything's in crisis, bro. Like, Christ resurrected. We need Christ consciousness, not crisis. Not crisis ISIS. Yeah? Lord, thanks to the heart me, I'm gonna crisis. Because it's all getting on top for me. Guys, tap the screen if you're on TikTok. All we're doing on TikTok is funneling people onto the YouTube. Hooray, you naughty boy, you. If you're seeing a red background, it means that you're not subscribed on YouTube, and so you need to come and you need to come over to the YouTube. That's where it's all happening at. We're reacting to videos live, and you can see what we're watching. If only you would open your YouTube app.
So, how did the UK reach this breaking point? Well, stick around, because the real problem is far darker than you think. Let's get started. As of March 2025, there's been an annual price rise of 6.4%, which makes the average property in the UK valued at £271,000, according to the UK government press release. In London alone, it was £552,000.
So if you want to own a house in London now, you have to be able to part with £500,000. Over £500,000, bruh. Annual change since March 2024, 0.8. So that hasn't changed much. But East of England, East Midlands annual change 7.1%, because I live in East Midlands, right? 7.1%. East Midlands is a stole, and you're paying, I mean, to be fair, you're paying 250k because that kind of reflects. I mean, can we really, I think we can pretty much judge, if you look at this little thing they got up with the East Midlands, East England, that's pretty much our gauge of like how good a place in the UK is, I feel like. What's the bottom? Northwest. I don't even know what's in the Northwest. Is that like Blackpool? Probably. Oh no, Northeast is even worse. So yeah, I think because this is the highest crime area of the UK, I think. It's like some area in the Northeast in Yorkshire, right? 168k for a house is not that bad. Although that's gone up 14% since March 2024. 14%! Bro, that is insane. That's like 20,000 higher on average. Bro, that's crazy. So we got Northeast, and then we got what? Northwest, and then we got East Midlands. I think that's fair. I've never been to the Northeast. I have no desire to go, but yeah, then you got what? Southwest. Okay, it's relatively cheap. Oh no, West Midlands, that's Birmingham and that. Southwest. Okay, so what's the... But this doesn't reflect where's best to live. Maybe the Southeast might be better to live. I've heard Southeast and Southwest are like the best parts to live in the UK. But yeah, London is overinflated as fuck because nobody even likes living in London anymore. Although, saying that, I was out in London recently and it was not that bad. But I think if you're a rich so-and-so, then yeah, you'd love to be in London, wouldn't you? But everyone else stays. I mean, that's horrible, isn't it?
What's more shocking is the ratio between workers' wages and the average property value. Back in the late 1990s, the average cost of a home was still around £59,587 and 3 times the average annual salary. Similarly, rents have never been higher than it is today. In London, tenants are now paying an average of £2,121 per month for a basic flat. So, for
please don't tell me that's a one bedroom that they're paying £2,121 for. Mother of God.
Of £2,121 per month for a basic.
What's up, Decentralized? Join us on YouTube. We're live at State of Deception, doing reaction videos.
Flat. So, for a young professional earning the median UK salary of £34,900 per year, that means over 70% of their take-home pay could go on rent alone. It is little wonder that housing costs are becoming the most significant expense in most British households today. But the increasing prices of rent across the UK are just one part of the storm. The persistent default in mortgages is also escalating as interest rates remain stubbornly high. After the Bank of England increased its base rate from 0.1% in 2021 to 5.25% by mid-2023, many homeowners who locked in low fixed-rate deals during the pandemic faced an unexpected shock when their terms ended in 2024. Monthly mortgage payments that were once £900 suddenly jumped to £1,400 or more and left thousands unable to cope. And as ordinary people drown in debt, a new player emerges to dominate the housing market: corporate landlords. These are not small-time buy-to-let owners. We're talking about the mega corporations snapping up the UK's entire housing development. In 2024, reports indicated that Lloyds Banking Group was taking steps towards becoming the UK's largest landlord. Why are they doing this? Well, more on that as we proceed. But
because they know that rent is the new economy. But while I talk about this, I'm just going to get something from the live stream that I want on this. But yeah, they know that the rental economy is basically the new economy, right? It's always been a major part of the economy, but more and more everyone's going to be dependent on renting their house. No one's going to be able to afford to buy. So the banks are like, whoop-de-doo, we've already monopolized all the finance, and we already have everyone dependent on us to get a mortgage to buy their house. But now when they rent their house, they're going to have to get that from us as well. Absolutely perfect living in modern slave society, right?
Is probably the safest bet in the financial market. People may decide to not buy luxury goods in a recession, but they will never stop needing a roof over their heads. Inflation eats away at debt, but rents rise with it, thus making property an unbeatable long-term investment for these large firms. As a result, small-scale buyers find themselves competing not only with one another, but also with corporations that have hundreds of millions of dollars in cash and access to low-cost credit. The growing concern of property ownership is sparking renewed anger across the UK, and frustration goes beyond just prices. People are feeling the system is rigged, and they're asking questions like, why should a basic human need be turned into a corporate asset class? But here's the real twist. This crisis didn't just happen overnight. So, how did we get here? There were times when buying a house in the UK wasn't a fantasy. In 1997, house prices were on average 3.6 times workers' annual salaries for UK residents. A young couple could realistically save for a deposit within a few years. By the year 2000, about 58.6% of people aged between 25 to 34 owned their own home. Fast forward to 20 years later, and that number has collapsed to about 39.1%. And for those under 30, it's even worse, as barely 1 in 5 has the capacity to buy a property so far. What changed? The answer could be summed up in one word: affordability. The gap between salary earners and house prices is getting wider every single year. The median annual earnings for full-time employees in the United Kingdom were approximately £37,430 British pounds in 2024, compared with £34,963 in the previous year. In 1999, the average full-time salary in the UK was £17,803 per year, with median earnings exceeding £20,000 per year in 2002 and £30,000 by 2019. Meanwhile, the average house price has increased from approximately £77,698 in the first quarter of 2000 to nearly £272,751 as of the second quarter of 2025.
We get it. House prices going up, up, up. Okay. Up to... Wow.
Reports,
Listen to this.
Up to a third of millennials may face renting their entire life.
Renting your entire life. So home ownership is no longer even possible. What does that do to you mentally? We're now back to... This is like how sharecroppers in the Mississippi South used to live. Like, it doesn't even matter how much you work anymore. All you're getting is basically board. Like, room and board. Barely even getting room. Like, you're not even really getting food either. You have to pay for your own food, and then you have to rent. Man, if people don't want to escape to, like, the wilderness like me, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, you guys, is living in the city that great? Because I personally would much prefer to live in a rural place and hunt my own food. I think a lot of people are starting to think like that now, right? Up to a third of millennials face renting their entire life. Insane.
For millions of UK residents, the idea of getting on the property ladder is becoming nothing more than a slogan from the past era. Instead of building equity in a home, more individuals are handing over a third or even half their salary every month just to pay someone else's mortgage. Why does this matter? Home ownership has never been about just having a place to live. It has also been a source of security, wealth building, and...
Sorry guys, one sec. I'm trying something.
To the point of being able to buy a home, they put down roots, start families, and invest in their new communities. When they can't, a lot of things go wrong as they tend to move frequently, have fewer children, and feel more disconnected. In that light, their economic and emotional sense of ownership begins to disappear, and with it, a key pillar of British life. So, how does this happen? How did Britain go from a property-owning democracy to a nation where millions are on their way to becoming permanent renters? It all began with a radical shift in the 1980s and a policy that would change the UK housing market forever. Back in the late 1970s and early 80s, the UK had one of the most balanced housing systems in the world. A significant portion of the population lived in council houses, which were publicly owned homes built and maintained by local authorities.
It's funny as well how a lot of like left-wing people, they're like, we want to go back to when the government was funding everything, but then it's like, that's when everyone's dependent on the government. Like, that's not even really better. Like, yes, thank goodness everyone lives in a house made by the government. Like, no, we want technically people to have money but not be dependent on the government. So if the win is now, oh my gosh, we technically like are dependent on the government but at least we have a house, we got a long way to go. We got a guest that wants to come up. I don't know, is there even a point in getting a guest up now because we're doing live reactions? No, sorry, guesty.
These homes were not just for people with low incomes, they were also for middle-class families.
Oh, what's happening to the... Sorry, guys. I've only gone and took the video off. Ugh. Silly me. Okay, what did I do wrong? We gotta put the video back in. Oh my gosh, this is amateur from me. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Window capture. Order. It's on. Okay, nice save.
Offered them stable and affordable rent. Private ownership was growing and housing supply was considered healthy. In fact, between 1959 and 1988, approximately 7.5 million new homes were built across the UK, as both Conservative and Labour parties treated building projects as a national priority. Then came the election of the Iron Lady. In 1979, Margaret Thatcher became Britain's first female Prime Minister and launched one of the most problematic housing policies in modern history.
Oh,
the right
they
to
always
buy.
say
This scheme allowed council tenants to...
Let the council sell the houses to people at a cheap, and then people were able to become homeowners, and now this means that there's a shortage of council housing. We don't want to not have a shortage of council housing. Like, we don't need a lot of people on the housing list. The problem is that there's not enough houses because people don't have enough money to get houses. So we need to solve the financial issue at its core and not just say the problem is that Thatcher made there be less social housing. We don't want people to be in social housing. Like, ideally, right?
Purchase their homes at a discount, in some cases up to 50%, if they had been a public sector tenant for between 3 and 5 years. It became an instant success. Between 1980 and 1995, over 2 million such homes were sold to their tenants, and for many working-class families, this was indeed a life-changing experience. At first glance, this initiative created thousands of homeowners, giving people a tangible stake in society. But here's the problem: those homes were never replaced. Local councils were not allowed to use the money from these sales to build new social housing. Instead, the revenue went to the Treasury to reduce the national debt. While millions of council houses were transferred out of public ownership, the pipeline of new homes was drying up. By the mid-1980s, the number of new council homes being built each year had fallen off a cliff. In 1977, the council built only 120,000 homes, and by 1997, that number had decreased to just 1,400 units. Yes, that's going from 6 figures to barely a few thousand in 2.
Like, theoretically, they don't want to be building new homes because ideally you should be buying a home that's been privately built. And, you know, I recognize that, yes, in the UK, we live in this kind of culture where it's normal to have a social council house and stuff. But I'm not saying it's bad that and I'm not saying they shouldn't build homes. I'm just saying, like, this is what we're aspiring to, guys. Where the good outcome is when everybody lives in a council house, or when there's enough council houses that a significant percentage of the population is housed by the council. We want them to be housed by God, Jehovah.
Decades. However, this wasn't the only shift. Thatcher's government also changed a few planning rules and began dismantling rent controls, which had been responsible for keeping private rent stable for decades. Meanwhile, mortgage lending was deregulated as banks were encouraged to compete aggressively, making it easier than ever for people to borrow large sums. This resulted in the first big wave of housing inflation in the 1980s. The long-term impact of these actions was devastating as the UK lost its ability to build enough homes and sold off much of its affordable stock. As a result, millions who couldn't buy at the time were pushed into the private rental market, which...
Dylan says, earn too much to get council housing, earn too little to buy. That's a lot of people in that. Oh, but I guess the guy's now presenting another issue that I didn't even think about. He's saying now everyone's in the private rental market and then they just hike up the prices. Damn it! Capitalism, you can't fucking win, can you?
Was now free to set their prices. Fast forward to today, and Britain is facing a backlog of 4.3 million homes that are missing from the national housing market. Tackling the problem sooner would require building 442,000 homes.
Is a suggestion that that's Thatcher's fault? Because he's got the whole nasally socialist thing. Like, when people have that voice, you can always tell that they're like lefties.
Per year over the next 25 years, or 654,000 per year over the next decade in England alone, according to the Centre for Cities. But the damage didn't stop with the Conservatives. In 1997, Tony Blair's Labour government came to power, and many thought Labour would reverse some of these policies. However, they instead doubled down on the financialisation of housing. Blair's team embraced the buy-to-let boom and introduced more tax breaks and mortgage products specifically for landlords. For the first time, ordinary people were being encouraged to buy homes not to live in, but to rent out for profit. This turned UK housing into a speculative asset, fueled by an increase in demand that drove prices even higher. By the mid-2000s, property ladder culture was everywhere across the UK. But if you think the UK housing problem ends with politicians, you'd be wrong, because
I wonder how much housing contributes towards the UK's GDP, like the rental market, because if they didn't do that and then everyone was housed, wouldn't the GDP and the productivity of the country go massively down as well? So technically speaking, we have a higher GDP and all of this stuff, but then it's at the expense of people being able to get housing. So that's an interesting thing, because if, let's say, we reverse that, does that then mean that we're just going to keep plummeting into like a Eastern European tier economy?
Another bigger and powerful force entered the scene subtly and seemed to be threatening the whole purpose of public housing in the UK. For centuries, the UK housing market was dominated by smaller families buying homes and landlords renting out a few properties. However, that era is over. Today, the UK housing market has a new master called corporate landlords. These are giant companies with deep pockets and a business model built on one thing: turning housing units into high-yield investments. One such
Jenny says, here in America, same thing. Millennials and younger may never be able to afford a home. Yep, same thing.
company is BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, which controls more than $10 trillion in assets. If BlackRock were a country, it would be the third largest economy in the world.
And if black was a country, it'd be the number one largest.
Behind only the United States and China. And yes, it has eyes on the
Oh, wait. I don't think I'm going to get censored because I did 18 plus. Black Hawk. The joke was Black Hawk. Sorry, guys.
UK housing market too. Reports indicate that BlackRock and similar firms have been quietly purchasing homes across the nation. Their strategy is straightforward. Purchase properties in bulk, rent them out at high prices, and hold them for the long term as inflation drives up their values. They're not alone in this. The UK's largest mortgage lender, Lloyds Banking Group, also announced its plans to move big in the UK's rental market, with a target of owning 50,000 rental homes by 2030. Another firm, called Legal & General, has also said it aims to offer 3,000 affordable homes a year in a bid to address the UK's chronic shortfall of affordable homes.
So this is why people on the left keep saying, oh, it's the corporate takeover and the corporations are responsible for the housing issues because they are coming in and getting all of the affordable homes and then re-renting them back to people. I suppose so. I suppose they're right, aren't they? Because, like, if they're buying up affordable homes and then people can't get them, I guess the question is, what percentage of people can't get them? I always try and find stats on homelessness in the UK. It's really difficult to find, like, what percentage of people are homeless. When they say homeless, what do they mean? Because I know they characterize it differently in different countries. Sometimes if you're homeless, it means like you're couch surfing, you live with your mama, but you're like 40. And then sometimes if you're homeless, it's like you're actually on the streets, like, express some change. So I don't know what they mean when they say. I'm sure a lot of there's a very small percentage of people in the UK homeless based on like just the economy. That's my theory. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think it matters when you're talking about whose fault it is. Because is it really the fault of corporations if they're just buying up homes to re-rent them? Do they build homes? It says insurer says it will build and buy properties to address chronic shortfall of affordable homes. So maybe they do build as well. The allegation is that they never build homes and that they just get subsidies, hike up the price on the building project or something like that, and get like contractors to pay them or some shit. I don't know. I don't know how all that stuff works. I'm not good with the housing stuff, but yeah, apparently they just like middleman it and they don't actually build it, so then it's like less efficient. That's what that Aaron Bastani from Novara Media was saying. It seemed like a coherent argument.
And then there's Granger PLC, which manages thousands of rental units and plans to add thousands more across major cities. So why are all these companies so interested in housing? Well, unlike tech stocks or oil prices, people will always need a place to live.
Jenny says BlackRock also doing the same thing in America, and and your Tony Blair was just like Bill Clinton. Clinton was in the pocket of big business. Yeah, what is it with the parallels of like, do they work together to do this shit to us? Like, I can't keep up anymore. I now understand those Americans that like live in the South and they got a big belly, they got a hat on, and they just drink a 40, and they shoot their guns. And I just called a critter. Because they just like, I don't want to think about this nerd-ass shit. I just want to live in the country. You know what I mean? They're like, I understand those people now. I even understand the people like, you know, the birds are baby mums. Like, if you don't know me, I'm M to the B. I even understand the people, oh yeah, cool, what? You're not going out? They're like, oh, you're all right, Shelley, you're all right, Shelley. Like the mums, you know, the mums, the school pickup mummies, and the Ralph with his tracksuit, his slaz in the tracksuit. Oh, mate, can you lend us a tenner? Like, I understand, because I am them really now, but I understand those people now, because why the fuck? I don't even want to care about this stuff anymore. I do, you know, you guys know I do, but I don't in the sense of like, if they're just gonna keep twatting us about, what can we do? We might as well just drink some beer or something. Jenny said, I think Tony Blair made your NHS worse. Bill Clinton or his wife Hillary made our system based on medical insurance worse. Anything related to corporations and medical made out like bandits. Yeah, they're getting real money. How do we become part of them? Like, is that the solution? Like, if you can't beat them, join them?
Increase with inflation, but debt remains fixed, making property a reliable hedge against inflation. For
Brandon says, yeah, people staying at mum's longer or doing flat shares. Sorry, guys.
corporations managing billions in pension funds or investment portfolios, housing delivers steady returns with minimal risk. The problem is what this means for ordinary buyers. When a large corporation walks into a developer's office and buys 100 housing units in one go, how can a first-time buyer compete? These firms often pay cash, skip mortgage delays, and sometimes even secure deposits because they buy in bulk. Meanwhile, a young couple scraping together a 10% deposit literally has no chance. However, the unfairness doesn't stop there, as these corporate landlords often enjoy tax advantages that individuals don't. An ordinary landlord might pay an extra 3% surcharge on standard stamp duty, while a corporation gets a cheaper deal per unit. Many UK residents don't consider this a fair game. They see their country sliding towards a rentier economy, where a small group owns the assets and everyone else pays to use them. Suppose housing is no longer a pathway to security, but a permanent expense. What happens to social...
I didn't know that you could just press to fast forward. I will be keeping a good note of that. Jenny says you would fit in just fine in rural America. I think so.
mobility, family wealth, retirement planning, and the idea that hard work can buy a home. But more importantly, if corporate landlords now dominate the UK housing market and ordinary people are locked out, what happens when the system comes under unbearable stress? What happens if the bubble bursts? Waking up to the headlines that read, UK property prices plunged 20% overnight may sound extreme, but economists warn that such a scenario is no longer far-fetched. After years of relentless price growth, the UK housing market is sitting on what experts call a debt-fueled bubble. So, what would a housing crash look like in the UK today? The first cracks would likely appear in the mortgage market. Interest rates, which hovered at 0.1% in 2021, now sit above 5% as of the last report.
Jesus Christ. This is what they call late-stage capitalism, right?
After a brief 5.25% increase for 2024. For many homeowners who locked into cheap fixed rates during the pandemic, those deals are expiring fast. When they refinance, their monthly payments often double or even triple in amount. Although arrears have been on the decline, according to UK Finance, the number of homeowner mortgages in arrears decreased by 2% in Q1 2025 compared to the previous quarter. However, if job losses also start to rise, something analysts fear as the economy slows, defaults will follow.
Is this when we're gonna like all take over, guys? Like when the housing market collapses and everyone loses their job and the money becomes worthless, will we finally then take up spears against our corporate overlords? I feel like even then people will be like, Emma, just calm down. No! Revolution now, baby. Like, what will it take for you guys? That's a question for anyone that is watching. I think we've got like 20, 30 people watching across platforms. What like, are you guys willing to fight against this? Like, what are you willing to do? Like, should we take up? Like, what's the, because it feels like we are actually getting royally bummed. Like, the more they're telling me it, the more I'm like, shit, like, bro, like, I'm going to have to put in a shift to get a house at this point. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, well, I definitely am going to move to America. I mean, I have a business. Like, I think I'll be all right. I'm just shooting the shit. But really, like, we are, at some point we're going to have to do something, guys. Let's who wants to form a militia with me? Anybody? Like, can you guys DM me if you want to form a militia? Lift Locust says the media will just scapegoat the immigrants even more. Oh, yeah, then we'll have, like, race war. Are we going to have a race war? Yeah, I think that's when the race war will happen. And then I'll just be there going, oh, I'm black on the outside, white on the inside. Not really. I'm actually caramel on the outside, and I'm pitch black on the inside because my heart is darker than the night sky. And then all of the other colors are just on my target range, including black, because that's where I'm, like, aiming my weapon at, because they're all going to get hit because I don't give a shit.
Forced sales could hit the market in waves, further pushing down prices. Now, a fall in prices doesn't just hurt homeowners, it destabilizes the entire economy. Why? Because property remains the backbone of Britain's financial system. Experts warn that UK house prices may fall 20% amid mortgage carnage, wiping billions from household wealth and stressing the banking sector.
If housing prices fell, then everybody who holds assets other than, I guess, cash, which is super inflationary right now, and then the house itself, they would make out well. So I guess gold is the buy, right?
First, lower house prices means good news for renters. However, if landlords sell their properties in a panic or go bankrupt, the supply of rental homes could shrink, leading to even higher spikes in rents in the short term. For families already paying high rents over £2,000 in London, this would no doubt be catastrophic. What would the UK government intervention look like? Bank bailouts, mortgage payment holidays, tax breaks for landlords. Every intervention has consequences. Providing too much support to homeowners could anger renters. Propping up house prices could delay the correction the market desperately needs.
Right, that was like, I give it like a 4 out of 10 entertainment level. I'm not going to watch another video. I just realized I haven't eaten all day. My eating pattern has been really bad. I also was kind of using this live to test out how I would transition from doing the live debates to these videos, which will be available as individual reaction videos on YouTube. Lift Locust says, what's your thoughts on Gary's economics? Lift, I'm so happy that you've asked me that, because I actually already have a reaction video in the chamber where I react to Gary's economics. This is like 4 or 5 months ago I did this video. So what I'll do is I'll upload that video and I'll upload this video. Yeah? Just for you, babe. Mwah. All right. So I think that was good. I think what I have to do is rename the YouTube live so that every time I go live it just says Amma is live, State of Deception live, or some shit like that. And then TikTok will just continue looking like this. So we'll finish the TikTok lives on here if we're live, transition onto here, chop it all up like a brick of cocaine, and then we'll be out. All right, thank you. And yeah, for the TikTok, if you're watching on TikTok, this is just a way to funnel you from TikTok to YouTube. So when we'll do the live debates, then after the live debates, you might tap on and think, oh, Amma's live again. But no, I'm actually not live. I'm just funneling you. So you want to go and check us out on YouTube if you want to watch the video we're reacting to. If you're on TikTok.